The last thing anyone wants is a lawsuit for being ignorant about intellectual assets. It is very dangerous to put up a post on the internet which has the possibility of hurting someone. This video is all about the practices that you should avoid as a designer to get into any trouble. So you might be at that stage where you're about to launch your own design label or start a brand, and you would have thought of some names for that since it is your own personal passion that you want to have a brand. And you would have come up with some name. Maybe it is related to your own name, or maybe family related name, or it could be something with your philosophy or thought process that made you decide and come up to that final name. But what happens is when you start using it without registering it, when you start using it on your label, on your marketing campaign, and you start publicizing it, but what happens later is maybe somebody else has already registered that same name as a brand, as a garment brand, or as a design label. What happens is then, if that other brand has already registered it, you will have to actually close down your name, or you'll have to actually change the entire name, the entire branding, and all the investments that you have done, all the investments that you have spent on the branding. So that's exactly what I'm talking about in this one. I'm talking about registering your brand and being very aware about what brand name that you want to give for your designer label, or it could be a collection that you want to publish. Without doing that, you will actually fall into a trap, and I don't want you to get into that. So that is point number one, that you should register your own brand. You should also consider about the website domain name, because sometimes the name that you have already registered also may not be available, and somebody else might have actually bought that domain name. And see the availability if that name is available, and see at the same time that the domain name is also available, so that you don't get into this compromising situation of having your name and with some XYZ something, and then it does not really sound professional. It's always better to have your name.com or something like that as your website. So prepare that, then only come up with your final name, register it, and also just buy your domain name. It just does not really cost much. So that's part number one, about naming your brand and registering it, and there's a process to it. Point number two is about freelance projects when you already have a full-time job in hand. It's actually a very unethical practice. I know it's very tempting to actually do some projects and earn some extra money and do that, but I would rather advise you that you focus more into your full-time project that you're working on, full-time job that you're working on as a designer, and add in more extra value. So that ways you can actually contribute more within the brand that you're working in, and then build your thing around it. And trust me, people actually get to know about it, and it's not a good idea that your colleagues get to know and your company will just terminate your employment because you were doing a freelance project for another brand or something. So do not practice that. I would rather say that develop your own skills. If you have some extra time, then learn something new, develop that as your extra skill, and keep learning things instead of doing freelance projects. They really do not fetch you much value. It takes away more of your time and energy. Point three is about being a consultant to a company. Now I'm talking about an individual, a professional who's actually connected to an organization in a very close loop level, where there is a lot of information that has been shared to that professional, and based on that information, the professional comes up with a collection or something like that. That kind of an engagement, if you have, you should definitely avoid having a similar field as your second consultancies. So for example, if you're already a consultant to a shirt brand, you should not take up another shirt brand to work with, because here you're already engaged in a lot of intellectual affairs and information, the strategy of the brand, the entire future plans and everything. And that may get mixed up with the other side, and you anyways are not entitled. It's not ethical to actually mix up two different brands with the same field or same ideology. It becomes very weird and very difficult to handle, because sometimes there's a possibility of breach of information from one brand to the other brand. So avoid doing that. I would say if you're working with a shirts company here, maybe your second consultancy could be with bottoms or with jackets or sportswear or any other category. Try working out that ways. It really works way better like that, because now you are actually getting to explore different categories, and that ways you will also enjoy and have your creative freedom in terms of exploring different categories there. And number 3 is about using pirated softwares. Oh my God, this is like something I really want to tell you. This is 2021, everything is online. Please guys, stop using pirated softwares. It's going to get you in trouble. You have no idea how this cyber cell is actually active. All of your work is getting traced back to what software and what license it has been worked on. So be very, very careful. Now you have so many more affordable options of softwares or apps in the market. There's so much you can actually take advantage of all the competition that is happening right now between different apps. There's so many softwares which have actually come even on the phone, even on your tablet, and you can actually do a lot of creative activities within those cheaper or cheaper apps, which is available now. So, but make sure that you actually use a licensed software, a legal software, a legal app. Only then work on those things, because I'm telling you, it's going to be very difficult. Just take for an example how there used to be time about 5 to 7 years back when torrents were so active. I think 10 years back, torrents were so active. We used to use torrents to download music or movies or softwares or everything. It's all gone now, right? Just to wake you up in that thing, it's basically the same thing. Using pirated softwares are actually going to get you in trouble, especially if you're going to publish your work online. So be very, very careful about it. And next point is about using images from the internet and using it maybe on your mood boards or on your different client boards and all that, and then you publish it online. Be very careful about that. Once again, always give credit to whatever source that you have taken the images from. If it's from a designer, mention the designer's name. If you're using those images on the mood board, pull out the images. If you're using, use it, but then do mention the designer's name on that. Give all the due credits. That's how it works. Otherwise, if you want to use other images for expressing some mood or something, then always download images from a stock website which has all the copyright-free images that you can use, and you will not get into any issues. There are times, even for YouTubers, there are times when a music, just because of a music which is not copyright-free, if they've used it, they have to actually pull down the entire video, and that also causes a lot of trouble in a long term. Sometimes I've seen lots of YouTubers, their channel has been blocked and has been closed down just because of this malpractice. You need to be very aware about all these things. Let's say if you're trying to use some music of some artist, you can even write to them and take their permission, saying that I'm going to use this entire music for my YouTube video. If I have the permission from you, it'll be great, and keep that as an email confirmation so that there's no problem in future, and then you use it. Or if you're using any music or any image or any video clip or anything from a stock website, that's the best. The best thing is actually to create your own images, photography, videography. Do your own photography, create your own content, film your product, your collection, however you want. The best practice is that having your own original content, because you being a designer, you're supposed to create everything. All visuals should be your ownership. I would encourage you to do that. And for a photo and videography video, I'm coming up with the next video in that. So yes, these are some of the important dangerous practices that I want you to be aware of. Practice or not practice as a designer, to be safe and to work ethically as a designer. So that's about it, and I'll see you in the next one.